Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is I, Captain Logan.
And it is I, Jason.
Look, it's my chat moderator and son, Jason.
Yes.
Tonight we're going to do lots of fun things. We're going to talk about comic collecting. I'm going to give you my tips and tricks about that. I got a question from a viewer a couple days ago, Jason, on this topic, and I was going to announce it on my collecting stream. I'm going through my whole comic collection one box at a time, and so far I'm going through it half a box at a time.
Oh.
Because, well, there's a lot of issues, and I'm showing every single one of them, whether I have much to say about it or not, and people seem to really be enjoying it. I've been having a lot of fun with folks on that stream, but I wanted to give this guy credit for this question. Yeah, Angela Castaneda 529. What's your secret, Cap? How do you start a... Well, my secret is I'm always angry. How do you start a comic book collection? And I was going to answer it on that stream that night, and then I started thinking about it, and I was coming up with all kinds of things to say. I was like, I've got a lot to say about this.
All kinds of stuff to say.
Because you know me, Jason, I can't just give a simple answer for anything.
No.
I got to really overthink it, and all of a sudden it becomes a term paper.
Yeah.
And so I thought of the term paper answer, and I went, well, it depends. Like with so many things. It's a really good Geeks Not Nerds type question. And we wanted to, on Slow News Weeks, do some GNN type questions on this show. And so I figured there's not a more fitting week than the one right after DJ's send-off from his being on the show regularly. Hi, DJ, if you're watching or watching later. And your second week on the job. Last week we had a big Comic-Con roundup show.
Yeah, that was big.
And this week it'll be mostly about a topic. We're still going to do news. We've got a few articles to look at. And I'm going to do less lead-in topics on the show from now on, and more, here's the few things I want to hit, or here's a big topic, sometimes based on news, sometimes not, that I want to spend a lot of the first hour on.
Okay.
So the show is still 2 hours. We're going to do more Q&A in the second half. If we knock all that stuff out and we've got a little time at the end, we certainly will take viewer questions earlier. But also, if there's anything that you guys want to say about the current topic, especially that topic, make sure and leave questions and super chats. And if you leave a super chat, of course, that will guarantee that we talk about your response, whether it's a question or another topic or what have you. But if it's about the current thing we're talking about, we'll do it now, or we'll do it pretty close to now. And if it's about something else, we'll tackle it later in the show.
Yes.
We want to say thanks to everybody who supports the channel in any way that you do that. Patrons, super chatters, and lurkers as well. And folks just talking to us in the comments. We appreciate everybody. We never mean to suggest that if you are hanging out with you, we expect you to help us out monetarily. We bow down to and say thank you very, very much to everybody that does do that. I shouldn't say bow down to. That makes it sound like I'm kowtowing or something. But thank you very much. I really appreciate you. And if you are just watching, though, and you just want to leave regular questions in the comments, we'll try to tackle some of those as well. You guys are fantastic, and thanks for keeping the train running here on Geekvolution and every way you do that. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I went to a comic shop today.
Yeah.
A new one that I didn't know about, and I'll show you guys some stuff that I bought from there here after a little bit.
Yeah, you did that while I was out dancing.
Well, it's in the same parking lot as your dance studio, and somehow I missed that it was there, and you wouldn't think that something like that would get by me. But it did, and it's been there since January. It's like off in the corner. They don't have, big great signage or anything.
Yeah. Well, and you can't really tell that it's a comic shop, at least just like from far away.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the title, you probably figure it's going to have something to do with things I like. It's called Nerdstalgia, but that could be lots of things. Like it sounds like a comic shop, but
it could be a like a board game shop.
It absolutely could be, sure. And they have a little bit of everything there, because they've got some retro games there, too.
Or some sort of a physical media, like DVD shop or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those don't really exist as much now. But
yeah, usually if they've got that, they're going to have a lot of that other stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open the show tonight, as we now are going to do every week, with a Patreon question. And quick plug for Patreon, if you want to make sure that you get a question ahead of time, in case you can't be here or you don't like the super chat feature, patreon.com/geekvolution. The $2 tier allows you to do that. We put out feelers every month for that, and we'll answer every single one of them sometime during the month. But we're going to open with them to make sure that we get at least one out during the show. Mm-hmm. And we might do another one or two later on, depending on what the situation in the live chat looks like at the end of the show. I see John Henry in the audience. I see CG Anime Fan. Cinematographic is here. Dan's Den is here. How you doing, everybody? There's John. There's Subject. Hi, guys. How's it going? All right, Jason, lay it on me. Throw me a Patreon question, and then we'll get into the news, and we'll spend the bulk of this section on tonight's topic. Yes. But I do want to put the news up front.
We have a question that is kind of that has to do kind of with the topic.
Well, it'll be a segue.
Show that is down there if you know how to read, and.
I didn't know what that meant for a second.
The question comes from SS Jerry, and he asks, what is or are the best comic number ones you can think of? I'm asking more so due to their story contents, but feel free to throw in some based on covers or other reasons.
Sure, yeah.
Best comic number ones.
Because the first thing that comes to mind are things that you can read in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. So it'd be cool to give out responses of books that you don't even necessarily have to keep reading on, even if it is going to be serialized after that. Like, there are definitely ongoings that start with a pretty good self-contained story, particularly books where writers and artists didn't know if they were going to get to keep going. So the absolute first thing that comes to mind, of course, is Mirage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1.
Okay, yeah.
There are few better self-contained #1 issues than that. And I'm going to be really predictable in my answers. These are things that I like and that I have in some fashion. Obviously, I don't have a first printing of that book. They only made, 2,500?
Okay, well, I'm going to go...
Very, very valuable.
I'm going to go kind of...
But real quick, the other one I would put right with that, of course, is, everybody say it with me, The Tick #1.
Right.
Which also falls in that category.
Right. Okay, I'm going to go a bit newer. And I'm going to say I have a couple. I have two as well. I have Klaus #1.
Oh, what a great answer! Yeah,
and Go-Go Power Rangers #1.
Yes, that was another one I was going to throw out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Those are both very good especially Go-Go Power Rangers is actually a very good, pretty good, just Power Rangers story on its own, and does keep going and does.
Well, it go-goes. It keeps going. It go-goes.
It keeps going, and it doesn't get worse than that number one.
Mr. Anise reads that book, and he's like, go!
But I don't think that book gets, like, worse than its number one, right? I think it kind of stays on the same track.
So you know what you're getting yourself into if you like that.
Yeah.
You want to keep going with it. That's a really great point, yeah. I think a lot of all ages books do a better job with first issues. Particularly because they're not always in that 4-issue miniseries or I shouldn't say miniseries, 4-issue arc kind of format all the time.
Yeah.
So if you go back to a lot of, especially with DC, comics based on animated series, they're going to have pretty good number ones. Like Batman Adventures has a really good number one.
Okay, well, for all ages, I'm also going to throw out Bone. That's a good number one.
Yeah. What a great point.
Now, that is a number one that kind of does get you to read more than, having its own kind of story. But it does set up the story really well.
Because then that's another category is number ones that hook you into an ongoing series. And I'll throw out a couple of event books or just minis, maxis for that. Obviously, Watchmen has a killer number one.
Yes.
That's one of the greatest number ones of all time. I think the Silver Surfer limited series, 12-issue limited series, is a really good number one. And along with that, Infinity Gauntlet is one of the best number ones I've ever read.
It's pretty good.
Also in that category, I would throw out... A lot more is coming to me as we're talking. Also in that... This could have been the whole opening topic, I think, Jason. Legends of the Dark Knight number one.
Legends of...
1989.
Yes. I haven't read that in forever.
Have you read that?
I have. That's a great number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also get into manga, which is also a lot more of, pulling people in for, what's to come. So I feel like Death Note has a great first chapter. My Hero Academia has a good first chapter. Twin Star Exorcist has a good first chapter, although that book sinks, in my opinion, but yeah.
I'm going to throw out Spawn number one because it kind of never gets better than that. And that's a pretty good self-contained first issue. You're imagining all the ways in which that book probably will make sense, but the art is of course lovely and wonderful, and that's still one of my favorite number ones.
And news.
Forget the rest of it. Yeah, we could talk about this forever. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news, folks. Jason is doing a wonderful job of keeping me on track.
No, I'm talking about the news stuff in the Spawn number one.
I thought you were like, okay, stop throwing out number ones, Dad.
No,
it's time to move on.
I mean that too, but
Uncanny X-Force has a wonderful number one.
Does it?
Yeah.
They made an Uncanny X-Force?
Yeah, it's how I first learned about Phantomex.
Phantomex, what?
Yeah.
What was that?
He's like a mercenary, a mutant guy. That's got a super cool costume. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the news. And folks, throw out your favorite number ones, and we'll try to read some of those a little bit later. So, first of all, and... By the way, just all cards on the table, I was out all afternoon and didn't get a lot of time to read news, so I pulled out some headlines, and I haven't fully read all of these articles, so I might learn some things with this as we go through this, but a lot of this is going to just be, here's a headline I found, I want to explore it for a second. So I'm not suggesting that people just look at headlines and not read the articles, obviously, but these were just things that caught my eye that I figured we probably would want to look at real quick. Thanks to folks in the public Geekvolution Discord that leave articles for me to take a look at on this show. I am looking at that a lot more with this current iteration of the show than I was before, so I encourage everybody, if you're so inclined, when you find interesting news that you think I might want to talk about on the show, go throw a link to it in the News for the Captain Logan Show tab in the public Discord. So, first of all, Deadline, ka-ching, Disney turns streaming profit for first time and ahead of schedule. When was it expected? Another 5 years? So we've talked a lot on this show about how streaming does not seem to be a lucrative endeavor, even though that's the direction that the whole kit and caboodle has gone when it comes to television. And so we're seeing that traditional media is not as viable as it used to be. Not as many people are paying attention to that. But even though a lot of people have moved to streaming, it doesn't mean that it is especially lucrative when you're having to pay for a bunch of new content either. And so the big question I have had through all of this is, are we moving, and I think the answer is yes, are we moving in the same direction that music did, where this kind of content is simply not real monetizable anymore? What I mean is, it is for like ads and things, but I shouldn't even say monetizable, but just, are you gonna be able to turn the profit and be a multi-billion-dollar company anymore? With and have artists and creators that make the kind of money they used to, when the model has changed so hard. Nobody wants to pay for music anymore. Nobody wants to pay for books anymore. And people have stopped going to the movie theater and aren't really wanting to buy physical media anymore. So, like, where is the money with any of this anymore? Okay, so people are paying monthly to stream, so you're still you're still ahead of the curve over music on that, because people pay for Spotify, but a lot of people don't pay for music at all, whatsoever. And forgetting piracy and everything, there's still more people, I think, that pay to watch movies and watch television than pay for music. But even at $15, $20 a pop, and even with ad revenue, does it mean that you're going to be able to pay for multi-million-dollar programming? So far, it has seemed like not so much. Finally, Disney is actually turning a profit. But how long is that going to last, and how big of a profit? So let's read this. Disney Plus and Hulu actually lost $19 million, but that was more than offset by ESPN Plus. Okay, so overall it's turning a profit, but those services are still not lucrative, and they're losing not a million, millions of dollars. So what are we learning here? The only way you can make money in media anymore is with sports.
Sports.
There's another article I saw today, and I don't know if we're actually gonna be taking a look at that tonight. But over on the Warner Brothers side, Zaslav reported that they are $1 billion lower than they expected to be by this point, partly because they lost the NBA. It's all about sports, folks. It sure seems to be. So everybody get really excited. Disney Plus is finally technically turning a profit, while simultaneously yesterday Disney announced price hikes across most streaming plans starting in October.
Are you kidding me?
There's been a sea change, I'm reading this article now from Deadline, in how the industry looks at streaming, a pivot to profits over subscriber growth. Disney Plus ended the quarter with 118.3 million core subscribers versus 117.6 million the year earlier. Ooh, they had 1 million subscribers more in the next year. That doesn't seem like a lot to me.
No.
Notably, Inside Out 2 led a booming box office that spread the joy. Sure, so that's helping them, Disney overall, and that's probably going to be a spike for a little bit for their subscriber base, but it's a movie. So, people can watch it and then jump ship if they want to. Disney also had a nice run with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in the quarter. I heard that was doing better in streaming. And streaming rental and stuff too, which makes me think that there is hope for a sequel, because there was kind of question, as expensive as that movie was, it did okay at the box office, but there was kind of a question as to whether we would get any more. I think at this point we've probably will. And then, of course, this says right now it's having a massive moment with Deadpool and Wolverine. And again, is any of this sustainable? And or is Disney and Marvel, etc., all of their, and Pixar too, their companies underneath their umbrella going to learn the right lessons from these successes, or are these a bunch of surprise, or maybe not surprise in the case of Deadpool and Wolverine, flash in the pan successes that they will not be able to replicate moving forward?
Yeah, will it be just like sometime in the next 10 years, the whole streaming thing just doesn't work out for them, and it just kind of blows up.
Or for anybody.
And for anybody, really. They don't.
But what do you pivot to?
I don't know. No one's...
Because the box office model is only working for a few movies a year.
Yeah.
As far as the big giant tentpole things. And you'll have some smaller movies that didn't cost too much to make in the first place that will turn a profit at the box office. But, generally speaking, we're hearing about movie theaters closing all over the place. I mentioned that a couple of times. And Red Letter Media has a really good video about that, where they show a whole bunch of local news reports about that, things that I did not even realize until I saw that video was happening. You can't just pivot back to movie theaters. You can't pivot back, and we're talking about movies and television. You can't pivot back to traditional broadcast television.
Yeah.
So is it going to be like music, where we're going to get to a point where the honeymoon will be over with streaming, and that probably already is true, but you do still have some, apparently, and I'm not watching a lot, really good shows. I'm sure some people would say we're still in a renaissance with that, where there's still much better scripted stuff and smart stuff being made now than during what I think of as kind of the black period in the mid-2000s, where you had a few good scripted shows, but it was mostly reality television. We're not in that space anymore, thanks to streaming. Mm-hmm. But if that stuff doesn't start making these companies more money soon, I don't know how much longer it's going to make sense to throw millions of dollars at these shows. And it's crazy that it's lasted as long as it has. I say all the time, I don't understand why we're making more Star Trek shows. Paramount Plus doesn't seem to be turning any kind of a profit. Yeah. And Star Trek has hardly any merchandise still with that stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know how they're even making any sort of profit on that.
So I think this is almost a misleading headline. Because this sounds like good news. Oh, ka-ching, Disney turns streaming profit.
Ka-ching.
I mean, to their credit, Deadline didn't put Disney Plus in the title. But if you look at the article, right underneath it, there is a picture of Disney Plus. And if you don't read the article, you go, wow, Disney Plus is turning a profit. No, it's not.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus is.
Basically, yeah.
Is what I'm reading here. Okay, more news. Just see where we're at time-wise here. Let's take a look at the weekend box office for Deadpool and Wolverine. It's officially the highest grossing, this is from Rotten Tomatoes, R-rated film of all time. That's not super surprising given the records it broke for its opening weekend.
Yeah.
But I also read in a different article, Jason, that it is, despite being an R-rated film, and so I feel a little vindicated a couple weeks ago when I said, is it possible that it gets nearer to the record and can make closer to $2 billion. I don't think it'll make $2 billion. I mean, it will almost certainly make $1 billion at this point. But it is apparently the 6th highest grossing superhero film of all time already.
Wow.
And it's R-rated.
Wow.
Let me see if I can find that article real quick, because I forgot to pull that up.
Yeah, and is there a list of just in order of superhero movies in order of
at least the 6. Yeah, this comes from Variety. This is the article I meant to pull up in the first place. Deadpool and Wolverine scores mightier than expected, $211 million. Sixth biggest debut in box office history. But I thought what I read was that it was the highest. It was just opening. Yeah, so opening. See, this is why we look at the articles, guys. That's still nuts, though, right? R-rated. It's the 6th biggest opening.
And technically the 4th because Star Wars barely counts.
Yeah, well, I thought, when I looked at this, again, I had to skim these real quick. I thought we were talking about superhero movies. We're talking about debut.
Debut, like, ever?
For movies.
For movies. Oh.
Yeah. And some of them are, of course, superhero movies.
Okay.
Only Avengers Endgame, No Way Home, and Infinity War. And then Force Awakens and Last Jedi have enjoyed bigger starts at the domestic box office. So we're talking domestic. All of those tentpoles crossed the $1 billion mark with ease, a milestone that is all but assured at this point for Deadpool and Wolverine. Just as I thought. Now, I said it's possible it could get to 2 just like No Way Home did. I'm probably wrong about that. I think I was drinking crazy juice that week because, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes just in the moment, I get on a train, and then later I'm like, what was I thinking with that, you know? Because, just thinking out loud. Because I started saying that week, and some people called me on it, and I think they're right about this, that I was like, well, maybe because of the way box office is these days, you don't need families anymore. And this suggests that you don't necessarily need families to get to $1 billion. But if No Way Home had been rated R, would it have hit what it hit?
No.
Probably not. You're dumb, younger Cap. Anyway.
A week younger Cap.
So I just wanted to look at that real quick. Here's some potentially sad news, depending on what you like to stream. Warner Brothers Discovery kills its Boomerang streamer.
What?
Folds some of its shows into Max. Warner Brothers has, this is from AV Club, Warner Brothers has eliminated the Boomerang streaming service, leading us to ask, does David Zaslav just really hate Scooby-Doo? What a great headline, or sub-headline.
We know he hates Looney Tunes.
Yeah, except he's letting that space movie, I forget what it's called, the Looney Tunes Go to Space movie come out.
Okay, yeah.
But he axed the Wile E. Coyote movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I will say, we stopped paying for Boomerang, like, a couple years ago. I do think Boomerang had the best streamer interface.
It was really good.
It was really good. I don't think there was one that was better.
And that's kind of sad. I liked the kid-friendly aesthetic with that.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun having a thing like that you could just hand your kids and let them pick things on. And and obviously I liked watching some things on it too. According to this article, a lot of its content will be moving to HBO Max, so they're not including some Scooby-Doo stuff. So you're not going to lose everything. It probably will lose some things. And it won't be for any extra charge. So in some ways, this isn't a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But it means if all you cared about was Boomerang, now you have to get Max. And so that's unfortunate. But they're right. The bigger, I don't think it's a giant loss at this point to lose Boomerang like it would have been a few years ago. But make sure you're looking at the chat there. Sorry, I'm telling Jason how to do his job. But the bigger question is, what does Zaslav have against animation? Just the way he's acting stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. A lot of what he's acting is animated.
You think Boomerang was a tax write-off? That's a question. Here's another Variety article. Superman wraps filming. James Gunn announces. So they're done, and here's his quote. That's a wrap. Gunn wrote, God bless our cast and crew whose commitment, creativity, and hard work have brought this project to life. I set out to make a movie about a good man in a world that isn't always so much, which is exactly what that should be, and hopefully it pays off and he lives up to that. And the goodness and kindness and love I've encountered on a daily basis on the set has inspired me and thrust me forward when I felt too spent to move on my own. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It's been an honor. The destination has been Superman, but the journey has been the toil and the laughter and the emotions and ideas and magic we've shared together on set, and for that I am forever grateful. That's a nice, heartfelt speech or note, but just wanted to mention that. So that's exciting. It's done. That's not going to be a tax write-off. And Jason, how excited are you for that movie?
I'm pretty excited.
Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you trepidatious? Or are you kind of expecting big things or great things, exciting things?
I think I'm expecting good things.
Yeah.
Or I'm kind of expecting good things.
Based on Guardians? Based on
I like James Gunn, and based on I want a new good Superman thing, and I think this might be it.
But that's what I mean, is like, you know, what you want doesn't make it happen, but like you think it might be what you want, based on
it's James Gunn and I like
storytelling caliber,
and I think based on what we've gotten, it looks like it has a very like cool aesthetic, you know, and it looks like it could be a good movie.
I will put a quick pin in these things. There are 2 documentaries coming out that I want to make people aware of that I will try to talk about and review when they come out. And there was actually a 3rd one I should mention real quick that went to select theaters that I missed because I was out of town and there wasn't a theater showing it. But there is a Frank Miller documentary that I will try to watch and review when it comes to streaming. But there is a Hellboy documentary called Mike Mignola Drawing Monsters. I say Hellboy, I mean it's about Mike Mignola, but it'll focus on Hellboy. And then there is also a documentary about Christopher Lee coming, and I saw the trailer for that one, Jason, and it had footage from Captain Invincible.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's exciting, and your mom will want to see that with us. So just wanted to mention that to everybody. And that's all the news I wanted to bring up this week.
Okay.
Are you seeing any interesting comments or questions about any of those items before we go to tonight's topic?
I do not think so. I think we are good to go into our topic.
Okay, so let me just remind everybody, if you're just coming in, if you want to interact with us and make sure that your idea or topic is covered, you can leave a super chat, and we will do unrelated things in the second half tonight. But if anything comes up about the actual topic, we'll do that as I talk about this. And as always, leave regular comments as well, and make sure to tag Jason or Jason's Video Game Secrets.
Yes.
Or Batman shirt that I didn't realize you had.
Yeah. Tag Batman shirt that you didn't realize that I had.
Okay, so once again, for those of you that weren't here at the beginning, I had a question on the community tab the other day. I've now lost it. From Angela Castaneda, who asks, how do you start, he says, what's your secret, Cap? How do you start a comic book collection? And I started mulling this over, and I was thinking of a bazillion responses depending on what kind of a collection you want to start. And I'm going to start with mine, with the kind of collection I have amassed. I have over 10,000 comics in 26, 28 long boxes, give or take, plus probably a couple hundred trades. And I assume that when he says, what's your secret, he would like to build the kind of quantity that I have. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk first about quantity, but of course I'll talk about quality some within that. And then I'll break it down and talk about some different kinds of collecting. Because when it comes to comics, everybody's different, and there's lots and lots of different ways to do it. And the first thing I want to caution you against is comparing your collection or the way you like to collect too much to other people. I think it's a mistake to go, that guy's got 10,000, I'll never have that much, it's not worth getting started. Because my secret is, I've been doing this since I was like 7 or 8. That's my secret. I bought comics for a long time, and I have bought things, I have sold things, but I've hung on to a lot of stuff. And I'll mention here in a minute what I mean by buying and selling and how I've done that, because I have had more in my possession at one time than 10,000. And I do think about it some in terms of volume, because I have not always only been a collector. I have also been a retailer. I've also sold on my own. So I guess I'll say I have, maybe I should say like 3 secrets, okay? So my first secret is you just do it for a long time. You know, like I don't know how else to put it.
You just buy a bunch of comics.
And if you didn't start when you were a kid, obviously you can't go back in time and start doing that. But just as far, you know, what's your secret? Well, I've done it for a long time. That's the first thing. The second thing is I bought a lot secondhand, and I didn't buy cover price for a really long time. So back in around 2010, 2011, I started buying new, and I did that for a decade. And I don't have a pull list anymore. I don't buy a lot current. I will occasionally, I did this today, and I'll show you some stuff later. I will occasionally walk into a comic shop and buy covers I think are really cool, or gap fill. But I keep talking about this on my collector series, but I read a lot in digital, and I don't feel the need to have every issue of most things anymore. There's still those few series that I'm a completionist about, that I've been gap filling for a long time. When it comes to newer stuff, like Power Rangers, I've stopped buying everything for. I just got to get those really cool covers that I love, because they're fun to display with, is part of it. So anyway, so first secret is I've done it for a long time. Second is, if I have to put it in terms of secrets, second is buying secondhand, not paying cover very much, which is especially important. And I'm not saying you can't buy, you can't spend full price when you want to, but just if you want to amass quite a bit, if you want to save money, it is, comics these days average $4 to $5, and a lot of companies are moving toward $5. And I said at one time, if we get to the $5 place, I'm probably kind of done with new. And I stood by that, because I feel weird about that. We've almost doubled in like 13 years, which seems artificially inflated to me. That seems like a bit much. 13 years is a long time, but that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what you'll find is, even with singles, you'll find after things come out, with some exceptions, obviously, key issues, first appearances, number ones sometimes, and of course variant covers, and 1s and 10s, 125s, those kinds of things. With those exceptions, you'll find things cheaper than cover in back issue bins and at comic shops and at conventions and stuff all the time. So buying secondhand is the other thing. And then the third secret for me is buying in bulk. I don't do this as much anymore. I'm not saying I never will again, but I used to buy out collections, and I would keep what I wanted and I would sell the rest. And the goal was never to make money. The goal was to stay in the green. The goal was to keep up my collection, try to break even. And that's how I got the collection as big as it is. And that's why I said at one time I was more like 20,000 strong. Probably more than that, actually. And I was retailing, so I sold a lot of that stuff. And I would make sacrifices. I would sell things that maybe I would like to keep things I wanted even more than that.
Yeah.
And if I told you some of the things that I got rid of, especially because some of it is valuable now and wasn't back then, some of you guys would cry. But in order to stay in the green, those are the kinds of things that you have to do to be successful. When I say successful, at amassing a collection without spending very much, or breaking even, staying in the green or breaking even. And so so if you want to build a large collection, and it shouldn't just be about the numbers, you should be buying things that you like, that you think are cool, of course. And the first big piece of advice I would give you is, don't make comics an investment. It's too speculative. And this is the same advice that anybody that knew what they were talking about would have given you all the way back in the 90s. It is still true today. If you happen to have issues that are worth a lot, or you spend extra money on something because it's cool and it's valuable, but you just want it, not because you think it will get even like you're playing the stock market. Not because you think it's going to be worth a whole lot more money and you can make a ton of money on it later. There's nothing wrong with spending, like 20, 30, 50, even $100 on an issue that you just absolutely have to have. And I'm not going to begrudge anybody that spends whatever money they want on a thing they really want. I do think that you are foolish if you expect to put your kids through college with it. Now, having said that, could I put my kids through college with the collection that I have massed since I was 7? I could probably get halfway there for one of them, a quarter of the way there for one of them. It depends on where the kid went to school, I guess. And I'm not going to put a dollar amount on my collection right now because I honestly don't know exactly what it's worth. But I know I could do several $1,000s. I'll say that. I don't know how many several, but I'll say that. But is that why I did it? No. Did it take forever to do that? And there are probably smarter, faster ways to make money? Yes, absolutely. So I'll say that. Don't make it an investment, except in yourself and in what you love, and it being a just really cool, fun hobby. So those are the 3 big things that I would say if you want to amass a large collection. And then going as far as like the big quote unquote secrets, and then going from there, if you decide to buy a collection, let me give you advice about how to do what I did. If you want to buy a collection and try to get into selling, first of all, it's time consuming, and so hopefully you'll find that part of it fun. You can use eBay, you can use Facebook Marketplace. And so you can sell, locally that way. You could get a table or a booth at a local convention. If you want to buy for resale and hope that you get some cool stuff that you'll want to keep, which you will, you won't necessarily get really expensive key things, although sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you get things that aren't worth anything now and in 10 years will be. That's a thing to keep in mind because it's happened to me several times. I always tried to keep the individual prices, so per issue, to as close to 35 to 40 cents as possible. 50 cents at the absolute max for reselling. And when I had a flea market booth, it was more lucrative to buy at 50 cents than it was when I was selling on eBay. Because on these 2 different places, and I won't get too in the weeds with this, but I do want to talk about reselling for a minute because it is a way to amass a collection. So if you sell on a web-based, typically, unless you want to pay to have an ongoing store where you have thousands and thousands of issues that are up there and people can just buy them one at a time, which you can do. That's not how I did it. On eBay, the better way to go typically is to have sets or runs, as close to unbroken runs as you can, as opposed to single issues, partly because of shipping, because you're going to have to deal with that. If you have something like a flea market booth or you're selling locally, you can piecemeal a lot better, selling one issue at a time. And that's why I say if you're buying at 50 cents a pop, you can get away more with doing that when you're selling locally, because if you sell your comics only at $1, it's already a 50% markup. And if you buy things at 50 cents that are worth $2, $3, $4, you might be able to do even better than a 50% markup. But if you're selling on eBay and you're at 50 cents a pop, but you've got say a run of 15 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, like wherever you are in that, and you want to put that up, you may not be able to get your 50 cents on each issue back. So that's a thing to keep in mind with that as well. So if you want a large collection, those are some of the pieces of advice that I would give you. Beyond that, I would say to everybody else, besides the guy that asked the question, I would say, what kind of a collector do you want to be? First of all, are you more of a reader or more of a collector? If you just think flats are cool, if you think they're fun to display, if you think they're fun to look through, if you like them like I do, like they're non-sport or baseball cards, where obviously I like to open them and look at them. I don't feel the need to do that as much now because of digital, and I don't have to worry about them getting messed up. but the novelty of comics is very similar to the novelty of cards. And for me, especially when you're buying in bulk, because it's fun to sort them, it's fun to organize them. When you buy a 3,000 piece collection and you pour them all over the floor and you stack up the ones that each go in a different place, you alphabetize them, all of that is so much fun to me. Like, I love doing that. Yeah. And then when you decide which ones are going to go in your collection and you log them with the rest of your collection, all of that is really fun to me.
Yeah.
All of the inventory and all of that stuff. It's the single only thing I enjoy organizing. Like, I hate organization. I love organizing comics. It's so much fun. But it's also fun like cards, because if you buy a random assortment of comics, this is another thing I was going to talk about too, either in a collection or you go on eBay and somebody's selling like lots of a 100 for $50, or somebody's selling 3 500 comic sets of boxes. And I bought those things too. If you do that, it's fun to go through them like opening card packs. Ooh, I wonder what I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
And you can also, that's also a really great way to gap fill.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention those random assortment of boxes for a second too. Just be careful about what you're spending per issue, and be ready to eat some inventory, because whether you want to sell or whether you want to keep everything, you're going to end up with stuff that you don't want, that you're not going to care about. And just keep in mind how much you spent on each of those issues that you do not care about. So unless you know people that love comics and you can just give them away to people, you're going to be stuck with some stuff that you're not going to care about. But think about what kind of collector you want to be. Are you more, like I said, are you more of a reader than a collector? Because if you're more of a reader, you, of course, may want to be more of a trade collector. And trades are another animal, some of which are also really valuable because of things that are out of print, because of low print runs, etc., etc. And they can get real pricey. If you want to build a library more than a collection, look for really great trade deals, and get the lowest price you can, and because you just want them to read, so they don't have to be the most pristine. They could be maybe read a little bit. Now, if you want to do both, and I know a lot of guys like this, if you want to be a collector that also has a library, a lot of those guys like to go for omnibuses. Or omnibuy, whichever is the correct plural. And omnibuses are huge, thick tomes that tend to be pricey, and if you get into that, you want to, I would say, make sure that you have a certain budget set aside so that it doesn't kill your pocketbook, because some of those things go out of print very quickly. And if you don't get it when it first comes out, or pretty close to when it first comes out, you might have to spend a fortune on it later, or you're not going to get one. So that, and that's true of some trades in general, but it especially seems to be true of omnibuses, where some of those... Now, I don't buy omnibuses, so I might be talking out of the other side of my face, but I remember seeing this when I worked at a comic shop and just talking to some people that buy omnibuses. I'm pretty sure it's true that there are out-of-print omnibuses you'll never be able to get your hands on again. And so you might want to get them, if that's what you decide to collect, when you get into a pre-order place. A third way, so outside of amassing flats cheaply, getting trades to have a library or to collect, or both, the third way to collect might be a small but more valuable collection. And again, budget your money. I mean, do that anyway, but budget your money if you want to build this kind of collection. This kind of collection is maybe you're really into a particular period of a character, or like if you want to go to bronze, silver, gold, or if you just really like vintage comics, or you're the kind of person that wants important comics. You want the key issues, you want rarer things, you want variant covers, that kind of thing. You might want to not worry about quantity and just worry about value. And so you can set aside money to buy the most to buy the most like impressively graded, like best condition books. Maybe you buy CGC, maybe you don't. That's graded comics. Maybe you don't. But you can. But maybe you're gonna have a really impressive collection of 100 comics. But every one of your comics is damn impressive. You know, you can do that too. I have a bit of both. I have some stuff like that. More of my stuff is kind of nickel and dime. That's how you get to 10,000.
Yeah.
But I would not scoff at a person that built that kind of collection. He's only got 100 comics, but he's sitting on a like Amazing Spider-Man, you know, number 2 or something that's like 7.0 or an 8. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And one of the benefits of having a small collection like that too is you can display more of it.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. So those were the main points I wanted to make about this.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you.
Do you have questions, and does anybody else have questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. I have a question for you. What do you think the percentage is of the comics that are in your collection that you have actually read, page to page?
Percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise. Or you know, number-wise, but like...
And read ever? Like going all the way back?
Yeah.
At this point, it probably isn't more than 35%. I have a bunch of stuff I've never read. Avatar Desto says, as an omnibus collector, the biggest issue is space.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, there's that too. And I mean, I have that with long boxes. And of course, that's going to just depend on, like, what exactly you want to have on hand. Some people are really choosy about only having their favorite things in omnibus, and then they read in other ways. Mm-hmm. But if you buy omnibuses to read them in the first place, and that's the only way you read, or that's most of the way you read, then yeah, you're going to end up with a lot of that. With the space issue, some people will. One of the ways they maximize their money when it comes to this is they'll kind of trade out. They'll buy things and then read it and maybe enjoy it a few times and then sell it later when there's something else they really want. Which has been a little more like a revolving library than it is a collection.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I ever wanted to start a comic collection, if I would actually want to do it just because they look cool, or because, you know, I would want to actually read them, you know?
Now, for you, would it have anything to do with scarcity or value or having a cool old thing that not a lot of other people have? Like, is there any allure to that for you, Jason? Because that was a lot of it when I was a kid. Was like, oh wow, Fantastic Four number 20, like that's ancient, which is hilarious because it was only 30-something years old when I bought it.
Yeah, it wasn't. I feel like if the covers are cool, then I would want to pick them up, and then maybe like. See, I would want to have like comic like books. You know, or like binders.
Yes, comic books.
Like binders for comics.
Yeah.
Right? Where just to look through and be like, these are like the cool covers that I think are cool, that I thought were cool enough to buy. Right? And, you know.
So value doesn't really factor into it for you.
No, and I mean, the more valuable comics do have cool covers.
Sometimes that's true. Sure.
Yeah.
So you just like older comics.
Yeah.
Okay, then how do you feel about reprints? Or is it still cooler because it's the original?
I think it is still cooler if it's the original.
Okay, well then there is a part of that you care about.
Yeah,
it's not just about what the cover looks like. It's about the... But I shouldn't say value. I should say the artifact.
Yeah.
You do think it's cool that it's an artifact.
Yes. Yes.
That it's a relic of another time.
Yeah.
And maybe a time where you thought comic covers were cooler.
I mean, no, but that's not... I wasn't talking about specifically old comic collecting either.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
But I'm just saying...
Well, but no, I said
are...
that because you said old comics have cooler covers, which suggests that you
I
thought...
said, but
I thought that's what you said.
If a comic has a cool cover, then I would,
Somebody roll back the tape. I swear to God, that's what he said.
I don't think I said that.
Okay, so one of the big drawbacks to being about the way I collect is you can't display any percentage of it.
Right.
Very readily. And I think about it all the time. Like, if I didn't have to worry about damaging anything or the expense of putting them all in plastic cases, I would cover my walls in them.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that very practically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've talked about this before, but what kind of sucks sometimes is somebody will come over that likes comics, and I'll be like, you should see my comic collection, and they'll see 26 long boxes and be overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Go, oh, that's cool. You have a lot of comics. We'll open up a drawer, and they open it up and they look through for a second, but you don't want it to feel like you're at a comic shop. You don't want it to be like gap filling. It's not like I'm selling them any. It's like, oh, you have this. That's cool. What's cooler is if you can walk in a room, and this is also still a little bit like a comic shop. What's cooler is if you have, floor to ceiling, here's all these cool issues you can look at.
Yeah.
And I've not figured out a great way to do that. And even if I did, and it is fun to rearrange with them and do different displays, but like, you'd have to rotate it out. You'd never get them all out.
Oh. This
is obviously a first world problem.
Yeah.
But it's one of the biggest drawbacks to it. At least with trades, and omnibuses look really cool on a shelf. You've got spines, and so even though you can't see the covers of them, somebody can come in like with a Blu-ray collection and go, "Oh, you have that. Oh, you have that." And with comics, it's like, "Oh, cool, you have a box that starts with the letter C."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, and see, that's why I feel like, and we should, have you done a video on comic collecting versus video game collecting?
I don't know that I have. That would be a good topic.
That would be a good topic.
And you mean like now in 2024?
Yeah, now.
Sure.
And it's like...
We should do a follow-up like that because you'll have more to say.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to dominate earlier. It's just I had
I don't have anything to say about that, but...
The whole thing prepared, yeah.
I feel like with video game collecting, you can do that. And it is easier to do that, right? Because a lot of the best... obviously, cartridges and stuff, but you can, they actually have like boxes that you can put on a shelf, right? Which is why I feel like maybe
and you can
trades and
buy new boxes for them
are the way to go if you want to have a cool like display for comics.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah.
But for me, there's something a little bit less again, and I'm a broken record, but especially because I can read in digital and I've learned to be okay reading that way. Like I've gotten really accustomed to it now. I bought comics today, and I don't even know if I'm going to pop them open and read them, or if I'm just going to go read them digitally. But the big drawback for trades to me is it's not the original printing. Mm-hmm. And there's something about that I still really like.
Yeah.
And you don't prefer.
That's true.
And it sounds like you think covers are cool, but you don't necessarily prefer to read that way.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like I don't like.
Are you the kind of person that wants a whole story in one volume, or do you care as much about that?
I do like. I mean, I do like trades. Yeah. I do like reading like that because you can just, especially it's like really easy to just like bring a trade with you if you're like on a trip or something, and then just read that. And stuff. But
I'll lose it. It's still better to bring a tablet than me.
Right. I'm just saying for physical media. But no, I feel like with books I don't like reading actual books digitally. I much prefer actually reading them. But
I have that too. Yep.
With comics, I feel like I don't know. I read a lot of comics digitally now.
It's easier on my eyes with just print. It kind of gets, the words get jumbled up to me. Like I do have and they kind of like imprint on my eyes if you know what I'm talking about. Fills by color. Oh, hi, DJ. Not being able to display them is what keeps me from collecting singles. I gotta go with trades or omnibuses. Yeah, exactly. And some of it for me is I'm set in my ways, and that's what I've done forever. Because we didn't really have trades as much when I was a kid. Some of it is also just I'm old. You know, it's just my age. Like, if I had grown up with trades, I really don't know which way I would swing. It kind of just depends more on what was. It depends as much on what was available than anything.
Yeah.
It's something you got to keep in mind with me, and this is not me telling like a woe is me story. I like my parents did fine enough all as I was growing up to support us, but we didn't always have everything we wanted. You know what I mean? Comics were cheap entertainment, especially when we were buying them secondhand on flea markets. And so if trades were $10-20, I wouldn't have had very many. But I could get comics all day long at $1.50 a piece.
That's true. And I feel like
that's
it
a lot
is
of why I stacked
cooler.
them up.
I feel like it is cooler if you you have a lot and not, just like a few trades,
John, I had to decide between collecting books or collecting movies. I chose to collect movies. Yeah, I understand that. You just gotta make a choice at some point. Sometimes, especially depending on, what's most available to you and what your income is like and how big of one collection you have over the other already. Sure.
Yeah, Braden Atkinson says that he reads a lot of manga digitally, and I do too. I don't. I have a hard time wanting to read manga not digitally, just because it's way easier. And also, like, manga is smaller anyway. Yeah. So reading it, and if you read it on like an iPad, that's bigger than it usually is anyway, so.
That's another whole discussion we could have at some point, like why manga is more appealing to your generation than American comics. Typically. I mean, there's maybe a loaded assumption in saying that, but I think it's true on the whole. I think it's true.
It's because manga's shorter.
They read faster too.
They read way faster, and obviously, my generation just doesn't have a great attention span.
Yeah.
And I feel like with manga, I can read a couple chapters just when I wake up, and that's just like easier for me. It's
you can
easier
read a
for my brain.
22-page issue of something, but
yeah,
there's a lot less narration boxes and stuff typically in manga. It's a little bit more action driven.
I feel like manga.
Well, I guess we had that discussion. I guess we don't have to do a whole show on that.
I feel like manga is actually like easier for like me, like just waking up, just like reading a couple issues like when I just wake up, and then with American comics, because of just all the narration boxes and stuff.
Folks, well, that was a fun discussion.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to get in on the end there a little bit. If anybody has any other questions or comments about this, feel free to put it in, and we will tackle it sometime in the second hour. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we will do Jason's segment, The Next Generation. Yes. He's got something for us to talk about that'll be interesting, I am sure. And we're going to take lots of questions for you guys in the second hour as well. Robert Wild, $2 super chat. He says, I've only really switched to digital with music. Yeah, I have the same thing. As far as, well, I say that. I mean, I guess I've switched to digital with comics in the sense that I don't buy everything.
Yeah, but I don't think you have switched, but you do both.
I've switched in reading. And I don't have to buy everything because, so, like, I used to have to buy all of the stuff I wanted to read in the singles. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't buy everything. Like, there are some things I've considered selling in my collection only because it's not stuff I really collect, and I only bought it because I wanted to read it. So, like, I have a lot of Marvel Star Wars. I don't know if I'm going to keep all that. I'm not really a Star Wars reader, but I really liked it when it started. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a few years of that.
You should.
And I bought everything for a while. Like I've got Jason Aaron's whole run, and I've got the whole first run of Darth Vader, plus some of the second run and the second volume, and I've got the Princess Leia miniseries. And
you should make a rack of that
stuff. Yeah, I could.
You should.
All right.
Funny.
Folks, appreciate you being here. Don't go away, or if you do go away, go get a snack and come right back, because we're going to have a whole second hour of the Captain Logan Show in about 3.5 minutes. Please stand by. everybody. Welcome to the second half of the Captain Logan Show. Once again, I am Captain Logan.
And I am Jason.
And we're going to move on now to the obligatory Jason segment of the show. It's the next generation.
Whoa!
And Jason, what do you have for us today?
I have for us today. So, this isn't, very recent news or anything, but, a few months ago, Apple recently let emulators onto the Apple Store. And so you can emulate video games from your phone. And this is...
And you're talking about mostly retro stuff.
Yeah, mostly retro stuff.
I bet Nintendo loves that.
Yeah.
Did they sue yet?
Nope.
How much is the lawsuit yet? Did they sue yet?
You know, it's really funny. Adobe sued before Nintendo, and I will tell you why.
Wow.
So, yeah. I think the two big emulators right now that really got on the train for this were Delta, the Delta emulator, which has NES, SNES, N64, Game Boy Color, GBA, and DS, and PPSSPP, which is the PSP emulator.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yes, and so I kind of wanted to talk about, was this a good idea? Making it way easier for you to emulate stuff. By, because it is, you were able to emulate on your phone. It was just a lot harder.
I was going to ask you about that. So it wasn't available in the Apple Store, but there's still ways to get
There were still ways to do it.
Okay.
And I was actually, for a couple months before this happened, I was actually emulating on my tablet and stuff already, right? So
because we just let Jason have his own cell phone in the last few months.
Yeah, and so this happened, I think, a couple weeks before I got my phone. But I wanted to talk about, the pros and cons of, emulating on your phone, because, is it... Okay, so here's the thing. It's a really small screen.
Yeah.
Is the big problem, and touchscreen controls suck, so you're gonna need to use a controller.
But they all have ways to do that.
Yes.
Do they?
They do.
And you showed me some really cool stuff. Like, some of those run really smooth.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, so Delta runs really smooth. It runs DS and 64 way better than a lot of other emulators that I've seen. And on mobile,
Yeah.
on mobile. So
when you say that, you're saying smoother than emulators you've seen on PC even?
Yeah, at least, the ones that I have seen.
Yeah,
because I don't emulate on PC.
Okay.
And then...
And I've emulated on PC for years.
We do bring up the question again, which is, emulating versus physical media. But we've brought in... It's way easier to emulate now because of mobile. Like, anyone can do it now. Like, it's really easy. And it's a...
There was sometimes a little bit of technical know-how you had to have.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but this
Yes.
question just came to me, and I don't know if you'll know the answer to this.
Yes.
But do any of these emulators allow you to do ROM hacks? Because ROM hacks do require a certain amount of technical know-how, because they're almost never here's a fully loaded ROM. It's usually here's a ROM and then you have to add this patch on it.
Yes. So there are websites that let you add a patch to a ROM to make a new ROM, and then you can use that ROM into the emulator.
And that's how you do it?
And that's how you do it. I haven't tried too many, but the couple that I've tried haven't worked, but I haven't done too much.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so I usually use, so I have done this a little bit. I do this a lot more on my tablet than I do my phone, because, like I said, it's just such a small screen, right? And, an iPad is bigger than a Switch, so that's good.
Just for fun, let me ask you what you would say, because you're more the expert on this than I am.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most comparable screen size for any old handheld to a modern cell phone screen?
So, okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, I'm just trying to think, right? Because I'm just trying to think of like a normal cell phone screen. Because the thing is, with a
And yours is bigger than mine too.
Yeah. With a
Like it's smaller than DS.
It is.
Or by how much? Because this screen doesn't even look that much smaller than a DS to me.
Yeah, it's not.
When you say it's a really small screen,
it is. I think it's smaller than like. And the problem is, a lot of the handhelds that I think of are like square, right? So they're like bigger in height, but maybe not in length. Right, yeah. Which means, so if you have to play a Game Boy game, let's say, it's going to be smaller because of that. And so that tracks for all three of the Game Boy games. And then I think it might be bigger than like the top DS screen, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's just.
So I got you off the rails on that.
It's not very big for, like NES and SNES and N64 and playing like PSP and stuff. I have never actually played a PSP in person, so I don't know. And also, I will say, the PSP emulator also runs really good, really well. I will say, I have never actually played a PSP, so I don't know how the size tracks for that.
Pretty hefty.
Yeah, but I will say, it's not very easy to, like, for a phone to, like, sit down in your lap and, like, play with a controller. Like, it's like hard to angle onto a table and stuff.
You almost want a good controller that would have an attachment that would connect your phone to it and almost turn it into an old handheld.
Which I think exists.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it does. But yeah.
I'm sure I'm not inventing anything interesting. Can I read you a couple comments that are mentioning things about this? John, they sell things to attach a controller to your phone, which makes it easier to play on your phone. Mm-hmm. So he's talking about the same thing I am. Adam March, I don't know, some modern phone screens seem bigger than a DS. Certainly bigger than GBA SP color in Game Boy.
Yeah.
Especially SP, that's a super tiny screen.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we're not even talking about the micro. I will say, it does let you, like, play things that you, like, either can't or don't want to buy, right?
Yeah, of course.
Where it lets you play games from Japan, and
well, of course, just cartridges that are astronomical now because of how insane game prices have gone.
But it lets you do it all for free, which is kind of like it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
right.
And then you're maybe okay with some of the irritation with it.
Yeah. So
you'll put up more. You'll put up with more when it's free.
Yeah, and so the big question obviously is this better than physical media? Yes, but then the other question is.
I mean, I'm gonna say not really, but it's a good alternative.
It's a good alternative, especially I think it's better for if there's certain things that you want to play that you can't.
It's probably better than paying $100 for anything, unless it's something you just gotta collect. Yeah.
But will I use this mostly for playing retro games from now on? Probably not.
Really? Okay. What's the main system you found yourself playing with the most?
I mean, the System that I have the most games for is DS.
And I figured you'd say DS because it's handheld already. I mean, it's portable already.
But it's also kind of hard to use because it has a touchscreen.
And you don't have two screens.
Right. But it has a touchscreen that you actually use with your phone, right? And, well, and to be fair, playing DS on a phone is very small. Because
it'd be even smaller.
It's half of the screen.
Because it's both screens.
And
I've seen you do some of it, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, the problem is if you're using a wireless controller, I usually use an Xbox One controller. If you use a wireless controller with a DS game, you're gonna have to find yourself. You're gonna find yourself just doing this sometimes. You know,
Avatar Desto is saying that attachment is pretty decent too. It sounds like what you really need to do is just save up for that attachment.
I should. But yeah, I don't think I will use it too often because I just don't think I find myself wanting to, you know, go sync my controller to my phone and, you know, like sit on my bed and just like play.
How do you feel about emulating in general though? Like do you like when you're actually on your tablet or on a or like on a laptop or something, you don't have the same hangups with it.
Right. And that's why I think, you know, especially for tablet, I think putting it on like your iPad and stuff is a really good idea.
Yeah.
I think because like I don't know if I said this, but a tablet screen is bigger than a Switch. Even, right. So you can play.
So now it's a nice size.
A lot of like it's a fine size for console games. It's a really nice size for portable games, and that for games that were originally portable, and I feel like I will more play I will more emulate games when it's like on an iPad more than an iPhone. Here's the hang up though. With an iPad, you don't have too much space.
Oh, okay.
You don't have too much storage.
Sure.
So you can't put too many things on there, and you definitely.
But that's like a personal problem. You could get an iPad that you got more for gaming and get enough storage on it.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing that I find myself emulating for the most is MAME cabinets. Mm-hmm. If you ever get into that, you get yourself an arcade one-up machine or an old arcade that you can convert into an emulator machine.
Yeah.
And that's where emulating is the most bang for your buck for me.
And then I will say also with like going back to like my point about the touchscreen controls, there are games that I think actually work a bit better if you just like playing it on your phone. And those are I have two things that come to my head that come to me right now. And that is Phoenix Wright. It works, I think, a lot better just on your phone because you pull it out and be a lawyer for a while, and then and it doesn't even require a controller. You just touch things. So, and then Pokemon.
That's what they should have put on the box. You just touch things. Probably not though.
And then Pokemon.
Sure.
What a lot of people use these emulators for.
Mm-hmm.
And Pokemon is completely fine with a touchscreen. Like I don't have a hard time with it at all.
Braden Atkinson says he also emulates pinball machines. I don't like that with a touchscreen either. I still need some kind of a physical button for pinball. Yeah, I've tried that.
I emulate pinball.
I know you like to do that. Yeah.
And then one more thing that I just thought of, because this is good for me. It is way better to record video games for videos when you just have it on your phone.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it just easier to record that screen?
Right, because you don't have to. I mean, now you can just. Like,
I've never done that.
You can just screen record yourself playing NES or SNES.
Why can't you do that with a tablet?
No, you can't. I'm just saying tablet or phone.
Oh, okay.
But it's.
I think you meant over a tablet.
No, but it's really hard to record just an NES game, right?
Yeah.
So it's way better to record a screen for mobile.
Okay.
So
this has been Jason's TED Talk on video game emulation.
I do think.
So in conclusion,
it's a good idea, but I won't do it all the time. It won't be I don't think it'll be my main form of playing video games. But if there's something that I don't actually have, that'll be the way to play
I thought this should just be a topic that you chat about for a while. You just proved to everyone you understand the 5-paragraph essay.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Was that your resolution?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like that whole segment needed a gong ending.
Yeah.
Folks, we're gonna start taking questions now. That was a great segment, Jason. And this concludes Jason's Next Generation segment. We're gonna go ahead and take questions. Somewhere in the middle of this, I'm gonna do a little bit of show and tell. I'll do some new acquisitions and show you guys a couple of things that.
We're bringing new acquisitions
recently. Back. Well, sort of. I'm not going to review them, but I'm going to show you some stuff that I got. But before that happens, we've only got about 35 minutes left in the program. We want to make sure we do some Q&A, and I'm now officially going to change the words on the screen to say "Ask me anything." Once again, if you want to make sure that your question is answered, you can leave a super chat at $1 amount. That guarantees that, or you can ask a regular question or give a topic at Jason, and if we don't see a lot, we'll also go to Patreon. Jason, do we have any cool pre-written questions, sir?
We do, sir.
All right, cool. We're being very formal and polite this evening. And what would you like to start with?
We have a question from Dan's Den, and he asks, "What is the most useless item you have in your possession?"
Oh, I don't know. Whatever it is probably on this desk. I got some random crap over here. The most useless?
This?
Well, it's a paperweight. I mean, we can probably come up with a use for anything we pick up, I guess. Like, we could really get into the weeds with it. But yeah, this came from Vince a couple of years ago. He gave me this to me for my birthday or for Christmas. And it's a paperweight that's supposed to look like the Bug and Amber from Jurassic Park. And I love that. Although I still want to get like a stick to put on top of it, to put it on top of. Yeah, I don't know.
Most useless item you own. See, you just have too much stuff, right?
I do, yeah. That's the thing is, whenever anybody asks me a stuff question, it's like my brain explodes. There's too much to read. It's not like I have a whole inventory.
I mean,
I'm not bragging about that. Sometimes I feel weird about the sheer amount of stuff I own.
Is the gong really useful?
Yes. It makes people feel good that they left a super chat. No, it does. I've had people that are like, "Hey, you forgot my gong!" People seem to really care about that. Yeah. Probably my tattoos.
That's not an item.
Oh, okay. I was thinking just like stuff I've paid for. No, that's not useless either because, people think it's cool.
Yeah.
Some of them think it's cool.
I don't know. I'm trying to look around this room.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. You know what? It's probably... but see, I'm also thinking of collectibles where I'm like, well, the use is it's unusual and cool. I was going to say the Star Trek 5 marshmallow dispenser. I have that. The Star Trek Enterprise pizza cutter.
Row your boat.
I am familiar with the classics, Doctor. Then why don't you know row your boat? Obviously, I'm going to miss DJ regularly on this program, but there is something really nice about my co-host knowing my Star Trek references.
Yeah. And making them himself.
Sorry, DJ. Yeah, that's a tough call.
Yeah.
He's maybe stumped me with that. I'm not sure. I'm going to run into something right after the show. I'm going to go, why the hell do I have that? That's so useless.
I mean, you can... Maybe there are some, broken things that you have that are just not even useful anymore, but they once were.
Yeah, I've got a weird number of pocket watches. I found a couple of those the other day. I'll never use those for anything. Yeah.
Wait, you do?
Yeah, I have a couple. Wow, weird. I found a couple.
What? Okay.
I have a Superman one and I have a Lord Zed one.
I literally bought a pocket watch because I didn't think we had any.
Oh.
Because I wanted a pocket watch.
I thought you wanted your own, though, you know.
And I didn't realize you had any at all.
Okay, but I mean, they were buried in a box in the garage. I didn't know where they
that's
were.
Fair.
You know.
Oh, is that the Lord Zed one that got...
Yeah.
Oh.
That was signed by Robert Axelrod, and then it got... his signature got wiped off.
Well, that's not useful anymore.
That's true. I bought it, had him sign it, and now he's passed away. Rest in peace. And I have actually thought about ordering his signature on something... You know, something that has a signature, just so that I've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do you see, Jason?
Okay, well, we have a question from Robert Wild.
Did I see a super chat?
Oh, we do have a super chat from Adam March.
Yeah, maybe try to hit those as quick as we can.
Yeah, a $2 super chat from Adam March, and he says, just one...
Sorry, I don't mean to tell you how to do your job, but
Stop.
that's how you do your job.
Stop telling me how to do it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can do it. Okay. $2 super chat from Adam March, and he says,
thanks, man.
Just want the gong, the least useless thing.
There we go. He's proved it. See, look, the gong. If the gong hadn't come up, it wouldn't have suddenly made us $2. Okay, that is a really useful artifact. Thank you very much, Adam March, for proving the usefulness of the gong.
Okay.
You know what? I have a. Sometimes I have to ramble for 5 minutes. I have the answer.
Okay.
And it hurts my feelings. The most useless thing I own.
That Mountain Dew box over there?
No, that was for a prop for the movie.
Oh, that's true. That's not useful.
Yeah.
Or that is
not
useful.
Useless. Yeah. Okay, can I say this thing?
I mean, you didn't let me talk.
Shh. The most useless thing I currently own, and I hope to God at some point it becomes useful, is I got a airbrush for my birthday from my wife 3 years ago to work on Power Rangers figures with, and I have not been able to get that thing to work right. It just sprays paint everywhere. I can't get it to concentrate and spread.
It just sprays paint everywhere?
Yeah, it just goes, psst, and it goes out like this. And I can't get it to do it right. And I thought it was an air compressor problem, and I bought a new compressor because I thought that it wasn't... Because what I read from some folks that have those was that you need an air compressor that has a certain amount of pressure. So I bought a better one, and it still doesn't work right. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But that was the one thing I asked for my birthday. I was so excited to get it. I've never been able to use it properly.
No. Goofster says it's Brandon, Cat, be honest.
Well, it's funny you say that because Brandon owns an airbrush that works right.
Oh, no. Wait, really?
And has shown me things he's painted with it. Yeah. So even if that's true, he's more useful than the airbrush. He has a usable airbrush.
Okay.
Dan Schneider says you're giving me the business.
The business.
The business. Thank you guys for the questions tonight. Keep them rolling in. We've got time.
All right, we got a question from Robert.
What do you want to talk about? We can talk about anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. Or we have a question from Robert Wild, and he has something that he wants to talk about. Who has the better shirt, Cap or Jason?
Right now. This very moment. I think I'm going to win this. Yeah. I think I'm going to win this. Now,
because you have dots all over it, and you have like little whatever. What even is that?
Well, I think this is like an Under Armour shirt.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more of a character versus character thing because obviously more of our audience loves Batman than Punisher, arguably, but I don't wear the Punisher shirt that often, and the couple times I've worn this, I always get compliments on it.
Yeah, but mine is, like, broken.
I would even pick yours over mine.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the audience would. I think I'm gonna win.
All right.
But I wouldn't even vote for myself.
Guys, cast your votes.
Adam March says you have the better shirt because Batman is better.
Okay.
And he's the only person that's weighed in so far.
Okay, well, Tyler says that Cap is better. But I actually almost wore a Batman Under Armour shirt that's just like the Batman logo, but it's black. It's on black, and it's
wore that?
Under Armour. and then but I didn't realize that you were also wearing Under Armour.
I wish you had. That would have been cool. We would have had like a Under Armour theme night.
Yeah, I decided to go for the cooler
should work out
one
together
because it's broken.
In our geeky Under Armour shirts.
Yeah, I'll show you the hardest friggin' exercises.
I'll see if
because I'm a dancer, so I have to like.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll see if you can do my routine. I know you can't because you can't lift the weight I lift.
Yes, I can. Wait, can I?
The weight no, there's no way you can lift the weight I'm
man, it's Austin versus John. Austin says that Punisher is better. John says Batman is better.
Okay, but that's all very predictable. Well, we should count all of this. There's a poll happening here. I actually can't tell which shirt's gonna win. It's like that Jackbox game we play.
Yeah.
What T-Fury? No, not T-Fury. T-Fury is a website where you can buy $13 shirts. Used to be 10, then they went to 13. TKO. That's what it is. That's what. Yeah, I really don't know. Hey, quick plug for the next couple of days. Tomorrow night, Austin and I at 9 Central, if Austin can make it that early. I haven't talked to him about this yet, but 9 Central tomorrow night, tentatively, Austin and I are going to be doing a request review on Batman and the Monster Men.
Really?
A Wagner book. Yes, from 2006. So join us for that if you're so inclined. We're going to have a Geekvolution After Dark right after that for the patrons, patreon.com/Geekvolution. Just a $2 tier, and you can come hang out with me and Brandon and Austin talking about stuff that we don't usually talk about on the channel. And Friday night, we're going to be doing our Superhero Rewind commentary on Spider-Man 2. So look forward to all of those things and more. And then Sunday night, if all goes according to plan, I'm going to have a panel to discuss the already concluded first season of Batman Caped Crusader on Amazon. And I'm watching through that right now, thoroughly enjoying it, excited to talk about it. And so we got a real beefy week. And then next week, I will probably do some streaming, but I'm going to be taking off from regular content. So no Rewind commentary, no request. We may do a Captain Logan show. Okay. I'm not sure yet. That might be the one regular thing we do. We're going to play it by ear. But Austin will be out of town. And Jason and I are gearing up for a real big on-location, out-of-town film shoot for the Superhero Rewind movie. So
we're getting big with this, guys.
I'm going to need more of the week to prepare. I shouldn't talk it up like that. It's not that impressive. But I'm going to need the week to prepare for that. And that weekend, we're going to be shooting the whole weekend. So I won't be able to do a Friday show because I'll be dressing a set that night.
Okay.
Without giving anything major away, Jason,
yes,
would you just really briefly tell everybody how the filming is going and what that experience has been like for you so far?
Yeah.
In 2 minutes or less.
Oh, gosh. You're doing like old Geeks Not Nerds on me. You're going to set up a timer. It's going to go ding.
Well, just because I want to get back to questions and make sure. And I still have stuff I want to show off. So.
Okay, cool.
We are packing these shows in.
And we have our segment at the end.
We do have a segment at the end. We've got to make sure we've got enough time for that.
You have your thing?
I do have my thing.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Okay. So your thing is gonna be cooler than mine. So it's been fun. I haven't actually you definitely acted in it more than me so far. Because you're the main character.
You've done a little bit.
I've done a little bit.
I'm multiple characters.
But I haven't done as much. But I'm about to do my big stuff.
Don't sell yourself short, though. Jason's been massively involved in the entire process.
I was going to say, I am very much behind the scenes, and I've been filming a lot of it. And
yeah, you've been behind the camera a lot. But Jason's helping me make a lot of decisions. He's been really hands-on. Jason's been, and this will be the credit he'll get in the movie, and he'll get some other credits, too, because he helped me break the story and all of that. But Jason is calling himself executive producer, and I think he absolutely deserves that title. I think it's actually the accurate title for what he's been doing.
Thank you.
And we have an AD, we have an assistant director on it, but I think what you're doing is a lot closer to producing, and what he's doing is a lot closer to what an AD typically does.
Yeah, what does an AD even usually do anyway?
I mean, it's just what it sounds like. Like, it's not like a co-director, it's an assistant to the director. And that's just what Chris has been doing for me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what is his title again? Some guy?
Well, he helped me a lot with organization and stuff in the first place. He's been trying to find us locations. He's been doing a lot of odd jobs on the set. He fills in whenever we don't have a designated person for a thing. So he's been running sound a lot because we don't have a designated sound guy.
That's true.
And that kind of thing. And sometimes he films.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's been a really fun process, and sometimes a little stressful. It's quite a project, and we're doing a lot of things I've never done before.
Yeah.
But and I was very used to working completely by myself on Spawnier, so just communicating to a crew is not always coming to me easily. Where like I don't always articulate things as well as I could because I'm used to not having to explain anything to people. And so sometimes there's been a little bit of a snag with that where I'm like, oh, you don't know what I'm talking about? That's because I didn't really say anything, you know?
Yeah.
But that's probably the hardest thing about it, really, is just making sure everybody is on the same page and knows what we're doing.
Yeah.
And Brandon's been doing a lot on it, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys think of it. I think it'll be a very fun thing.
I almost have the whole first act shot.
Yeah.
And so I just like to give progress reports because several of these guys donated to make this project happen, and I want everybody to know that we're working on it diligently.
Yes, we are.
Every week we're shooting something, and I'll be editing a rough cut of the first act pretty soon. And my composer is going to start working on the music for the first act. So we're even going to start some post-production stuff while we're shooting the rest of it, which I didn't originally think we were going to do, but I didn't, just because of scheduling and logistics without giving anything away, there's a couple of reasons that all of Act 1 had to get shot before much else was. We've shot some Act 3 too. So we are shooting out of order. And some of that is just logistics. Like we had a friend from out of town. I said 2 minutes. We're talking longer about this. I had a friend from out of town that we had to get all of his stuff shot, and some of his stuff was in Act 1 and some of it was in Act 3. So we had to shoot a scene from that, and I had to play a character that I hadn't played yet, which was a lot of fun to figure out what that was going to be like. And anyway, so because of all that, I'm going to already have Act 1, so I'm actually going to be able to get ahead on post-production. And I'm going to take a weekend out in a couple of weeks after we get the big out-of-town shoot done next week. Your mom is going to take everybody out of town, and I'm going to work on editing that whole weekend.
Cool.
Which I'm really excited about. I haven't done that kind of thing in a long time.
Yeah. Adam March asks, is the Jeff doing the music?
Jeff is hopefully going to be involved in some of the music. I have a composer that luckily has a lot of experience with fan films and pseudo-professional or professional I should say professional. I think he's done some things that aren't just in the fan film category. But he's already composed. He's already put together some things, and you guys aren't going to believe what it's going to sound like.
Yeah.
Can you corroborate this?
Yes.
It's going to be nuts.
Yes.
How much the production value is going to be pushed by that. And Jeff is a wonderful composer. He doesn't have, and he would certainly tell you this too. He doesn't have the experience with digital music and making it sound real and good as the composer I'm working with has. Wendell, who I know through my writing group, and he just happens to be this amazing composer, and volunteered to do this for us. And so, yeah, my mind is blown.
It'll be I think
by that.
I think the music will probably be the best thing about the
and I don't want to give away too much. There's going to be 3, if not 4, different people involved in score in a few places. So Wendell is mostly composing it, and then there are some things that I'd like to have Jeff do, particularly with piano, and then I have another guy working on another part of it that I don't want to talk about yet. But,
and then do
you know about that?
I do.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think.
I don't think you know about this yet.
Is it
I'll tell you later.
Okay, is it like one guy?
It's one guy.
Oh, then I don't know.
Yeah. It's not what you're thinking of.
Okay.
There is another thing that I don't even want to mention because that might be still happening. I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
I also don't know where that'll go if we still do it.
Okay.
Some super chats are pouring in. Appreciate you guys. Sorry. See, now Jason's getting overwhelmed. Are you sure you want this job?
Well, no, I'm fine. I just had a plan and then I kind of just crumbled. It's fine. Okay. But and then I also came up with a theme that I really like for score that I might like send in a demo or something that maybe some people can work with and stuff. So, yeah. I want to do one Patreon question and then get to super chats.
Okay, that sounds fine.
So we have a Patreon question from Justin Hayes, and he asks, aside from the finale, what is Guinan's most glaring absence in TNG? I couldn't believe she wasn't in Conundrum or The Game.
This is Bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, Bag. Conundrum, I've always thought was weird. You're right. And I have because you're in 10 Forward at the beginning when Data makes Deanna Troi a Sumerian sunset. That's that episode, right? No, that's Clues. Maybe it is that. Yeah, I think it is that episode. At any rate, we are in 10 Forward, and she's not there. Mm-hmm. And you'd think it would be cool to see Whoopi Goldberg play that. And yeah, it is really odd. And then The Game, not as much.
Not as much.
I mean, I don't think every time anything important happens in 10 Forward, she necessarily has to be there. But so much of... Well, and also, Disaster is a little weird.
Yeah.
It would have been cool if she was in Disaster.
And then, I have one.
Yeah.
Power Play.
Yeah.
How is Guinan not in Power Play?
Yeah, that's another big one.
Because, yes, that is another big, 10 Forward episode, right? But that's, the big 10 Forward episode, and she's not in it. And I feel like she would have made that episode better.
Well, yeah, and...
I like that episode.
Power Play, but I don't love that episode, but yeah, you have a whole hostage situation in 10 Forward. It would have been nice to see how she would have dealt with it. I guess some of these major things just happen when she's off. And you'd think she'd, run in sometimes, but that doesn't happen. And then it's kind of odd, some of the times where major things happen in 10 Forward, and she is there, and then she disappears in other places where it just seems kind of oddly inconsistent.
Yeah, it's where...
It would have been easy to leave her out of Sarek, but she's there.
Oh, yeah, she is.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure some of this is just availability of the actress.
Yeah, that's true.
And that kind of thing. The more glaring ones for me, though, are when anything major with Q or the Borg happens and she's not there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where is Guinan during Descent?
Yeah.
You'd think she'd make an appearance there, just to say something about that whole situation. She's an Iborg.
Descent is an Iborg, right.
Descent is a follow-up to Iborg. And I mean, Descent sucks, so don't get me wrong, but why isn't she there?
Yeah.
And she's never there for another Q episode. Past Q Who. That's probably the most glaring thing, and one of the biggest, dangling threads that people wanted to see tied up. The mystery of what is the... And really, so many mysteries with Guinan we never understand.
Yeah.
We never get a great explanation for what her and Picard's relationship really was. And when we sort of kind of get it with the Mark Twain time travel episode, what is that, Time Zero, it's not very good. Mm. And it doesn't seem to match what we've been given before. A bald man was kind to me once. I don't think Time Zero is what she was talking about. So that's very strange. But how does she not come up in other Q episodes?
Yeah, I would love to have seen her in...
Why does she do this?
Deja
what does she think she's going to do with that?
Deja Q? Because she's not in that.
She is in Deja Q.
Is she in that?
Yes.
No,
I'm wrong.
Is.
What am I talking about? She does show up after that. But not after that, I don't think.
No, she's not in...
Is she even in All Good Things? I don't think Guinan is in All Good Things.
No, yeah, and he was saying aside from the finale.
Okay, that's right. That is weird, though. She should have been there.
But,
sorry, I forgot he said that.
Yeah, what are the other Q episodes?
No, don't you remember, though? She stabs him in the hand with a fork.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Deja Q.
Yeah. But yeah, what is the...
And he says, this is a good line. This is a good exchange. He says, I beg your pardon. She says, you better get used to it. And he says, what? And she says, begging. It's pretty good.
Yeah. That is one of the best TNG episodes.
But yeah, you have...
It's Deja Q, it's Remember Me, and it's Sarek for me. Those are the three big ones.
But yeah, and to be fair, like, most of the Q episodes after that aren't great anyway. You know, you have True Q.
True Q. What's the one with a woman?
You have Tapestry. That's True Q.
True Q.
You have Tapestry, which is great, but doesn't really need Guinan anywhere because it's mostly in like made up flashbacks.
Young Guinan. Yeah.
All right. Moving right along, we got some super chats.
We got a $5 super chat from Dan Schneider.
Thanks, sir.
And he says, "I want father and son for some comics. No modern crap, thank you very much. Nothing later than the 90s. I will say, nothing... Okay. Nothing later than 2010. Because I want to get... Because my era, at least right now, is the 2000s. Is like the early 2000s. That's what I've been reading lately. So I don't want to...
Do you mind if I mention anything that you've been
sure
reading and want to talk about? Okay,
sure.
So Jason really wants to do Cassandra Cain Batgirl.
Yeah,
first
Batgirl run.
And I know there would be interest in that.
And that is my favorite comic run, or American comic run of all time, and Cassandra Cain is my favorite DC character. And
so we should do that at some point.
So, yeah.
The thing is, and I'm totally fine doing something else. This is also a Patreon question. I read this, so I'll just go ahead and address this real quick. You can mention who wrote it, but I've been wanting to do IDW Ninja Turtles forever.
Yes.
And I don't have anybody to really do it with. I mean, I know John's a big Ninja Turtles guy. I don't know if I could get him to read that with me. I don't know if he has a way to read it. And John's maybe still watching.
Invisipig.
I've got so much going on right now, I don't even know how I would work it in. But I really wanted to do a bunch of that this year, it being the big anniversary for Ninja Turtles, the 40th. And we're halfway through the year, and I still haven't done any of it yet. But that was the thing I was kicking around trying to get you to maybe agree to reading with me. And we've got so much else going on that I probably shouldn't try to put one more thing on your plate. And I know you're not as big of a Turtles guy as me.
No.
John says he would do it. And I'm sure Austin would too, but he's not a big Turtles guy.
Yeah.
And I've been having him do 03, so I don't want to make him do tons and tons of Turtles this year.
Yeah.
John, let's talk at some point and see if somehow we can work some of it in. I don't know, maybe do it like once a month and do a bunch of it. Because they have these giant tomes of that, kind of like omnibuses, where everything's in order to like when it came out. And if we did one of those a month, but I mean, I've also got to do Smallville with John. So I mean, it's a lot to ask somebody to do, and it's a lot for me to do too.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if I could do it that way. I'd probably have to do smaller chunks of it, and then it would never get done.
Yeah.
Or it would be my worry. Anyway, John, let's talk.
We got a...
You and I are starting to have the thing that Austin and I have, where we have so many things we want to do, we're never going to get it all done.
Yeah. We have a $10 super chat from Bob the Hun.
Thank you, Bob the Hun.
And
appreciate you, man.
Says, people say that comics being read by mostly adults and people over 30 puts you in the old/new dilemma. If you change too much, the fans get pissed, but they also get bored because it's all stuff they've seen before. They don't want it to change, but they also want something new.
Okay, I'm going to scroll up and look at this. Yeah. Okay, people say comics being read by mostly adults. I don't really understand this sentiment. Do you, Jason? Like what people say this? What people say this, and what exactly are they saying? That it puts you in the old/new dilemma. I'm just trying to understand the question and the assumption made in the question. If you change too much, so the idea is because comics are mostly, is what he's saying that because the assumption is comics are mostly read by adults, which is just true.
Yeah.
That we got to kind of like eat our own tail because it's like nostalgia versus. Well, and you have this problem even outside of comics,
but he's saying that adults want something new, or
but they
don't
think they do, but they don't really. Is what he's saying.
What he's saying is they don't. Oh.
That's what he's saying.
They want something new, but they don't want it to change.
Right.
But they don't want it to be stuff they've seen before.
So listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What he's saying is people think they want something new, but then when they get it, it's not. They're not actually buying it. So here's the thing. These two things are not mutually exclusive. Okay, both things can be true. It can be true that people, and I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Because I'm sympathetic to this to some degree. I think it can be true that people are tired of seeing the same thing over and over again, and also just think that, have, it's going to take me a while to articulate this, but I have kind of an instinct that it's probably not a good thing. It's probably not sustainable to just keep telling the same stories and putting out the same stuff over and over and over again, and never inventing new characters and stuff. It can be true that people want something new and also only or mostly buy things that they're nostalgic for or that are the things they've always liked because nothing new that does come out entices them, or that they don't hear about some of the new things that are coming out. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it sounds hypocritical, but it isn't necessarily. I don't think it's fair to say, and I've heard people go way too far the other way on this and go, you must support new things that are happening, or you can't complain that all you're getting is the same characters that, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, etc., etc. The problem with that is those were, extremely popular and instantly iconic when they first came out because there was nothing else like them. And it is just harder in an oversaturated market and with so much history with comics and in other media, in other mediums as well, to put out something that is so inventive and unique and original in the first place. That it does make it sucks. It's not fair, and again, it does sound on the face of it hypocritical. But I guess what I'm saying is you have to deliver, and it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah.
So let me give you a kind of obvious for instance. If it was true that all of the people that say I would really love something new right now, but I'm going to keep buying, let's say in my case, like, I love something new, but every time something harkens back to Death of Superman, I'm going to get that because it's safe and I collect it and I like that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Just as an example, if the people that say that never ever bought anything new, you wouldn't have had the success of Walking Dead. It still happens occasionally. It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes you will still get a gigantic phenomenon like this. So is the problem that nobody is giving new a chance? Or is it that not enough new is enticing in the same original, fascinating way that Batman and Spider-Man were when they first came out? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, you are.
If he's right, Walking Dead could not have happened.
Yeah.
Now, I say if he's full tilt right, there's definitely at least a grain of truth in what Bob the Hunt is saying here. And I don't mean to rake you over the coals, and I really appreciate the super chat. I just think that it's more complicated than that. I think that's maybe a little too simplistic of a way of looking at it. When he says they don't want it to change, but they also want something new. Well, the change has to be, it has to be something that motivates you to want to spend money. It has to be something compelling
and enticing,
and that relates to you. So yeah. I'm talking with Walking Dead. I'm talking about something brand new. But when he says they don't want to see things change, where it's like your comfort zone, Batman's got to be the same as it always has been. Well, we've been reinventing Batman a lot lately, and a lot of that stuff is selling. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's right and he's not right.
Yeah.
There was not a way to answer that any faster than I just did.
We got a $2 super chat from Dan Schneider, and he says, "Can't
Thanks.
wait to hear my name in the movie." Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is I can't promise you'll hear it, but it will be there.
Yeah. It will be there.
It will be there. I can say that. Oh, that's a gong.
Yeah.
Okay. We are close to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Are there any other super chats or any other questions that we absolutely have to do?
Mm-mm. Nothing that we absolutely have to do.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to say last call for super chats. We'll go a little longer tonight, if you don't mind, Jason. 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to show off some stuff I got today.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we don't get any more questions in the interim, we will do our last segment.
Cool.
We're going to have a revolving segment, different segments at the end of each show. And right now, I'm going to just show you guys some things I got at that new comic shop today. I went to a place called Nerdstalgic in Overland Park. I'm talking to them about possibly doing a live show there to support those guys. I really like the store that they're building, and I'd like to show it to you guys. And I'd like to do more location stuff. That would be fun. Okay, so like I said, I'm mostly just buying cool covers I want to get. I was excited that they had...
Got some Power Rangers?
I got a Power Rangers. Yeah.
You got a Power Rangers. Okay.
I'll show you that in a second. I was excited. This is the main thing I was hoping they would have, but kind of didn't expect that they would. The new relaunch for Ninja Turtles by Jason Aaron. But because it's a smaller store and they don't have a ton of foot traffic there, and they bought a lot of extra stock. I was able to get my hands on one, so that was exciting. So I have not read this yet, and I might review it by itself. I haven't decided yet because I don't really do short videos anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that will happen, but I might try to put that somewhere. But anyway. So I got that. I'm excited about that. Here is Mighty Morphin 19. This is a variant with
Cogs.
a Mighty Morphin Red Ranger fighting Cogs, which is super cool. Not a thing you ever would have seen.
Yeah.
The show. So that's neat.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of a nice companion piece to my putty cover. I've got a wraparound putty cover that I wanted to put that with. Mm-hmm. Then I knew I was going to buy this as soon as it came out. I was just waiting to walk into a store that had one because I'm not doing the pull list thing anymore. Or I'll just go wild and spend too much money. Here is What If Donald Duck Became Wolverine?
What is that?
And they're doing a few of these kind of crossover Warner Brothers cartoons.
He looks hilarious.
Oh yeah, he looks great. It's awesome.
He looks amazing.
I thumbed through this, and Austin, there is a Man-Thing full page spread in this that's wonderful.
Oh man.
So yeah, you got
look at his claws.
Yep, and he's roasting marshmallows. No, it's great.
Oh man.
Then this is a variant cover. I don't know why they're doing this these days. Marvel didn't used to do this, but I bought this just for the cover because the cover's cool. But what I was going to say is they'll do variant covers that have nothing at all to do with the issue inside. So this is an Uncanny X-Men variant, but inside is an issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Why?
It's really stupid. I don't know. It's not like they're not making X-Men comics.
But are they do they say on the front?
No. You have to open it up before you know what it even is. And in fact, when I picked it up, the guy was like, okay, I just need you to know that's not even an X-Men comic. And I was like, I don't care. I want the cover. I bought this for Cassandra. What I want to do is... What?
Is it a Beast?
No, she loves Beast. That's true. No, what I want to do is put this in a plastic frame and put it up in her room. This is... So it would be cool if, like this, the interior matched. But this is a variant parody cover.
Oh.
It's a parody of the famous Dazzler cover. Oh. This is What If Minnie debuted as the Dazzler. This is Minnie Mouse's Dazzler.
Oh my gosh.
With Mickey Mouse as Cyclops on the bottom.
That's great.
It's awesome.
Wait.
I had to have this for Cassandra.
That's great.
It's one of my 3-year-old twins. She's obsessed with Minnie Mouse.
Oh my gosh.
I found this one for $1. Here is, again, I'm just buying stuff for covers. Here is a parody cover from the Men in Black poster. This goes back to 1998. This is a Pinky and the Brain cover with the mice in pink.
That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Look at that. Look at that.
And finally, I was shocked to realize, looking at my database on my phone, that I don't own, or I didn't own, the comic adaptation of Batman Begins.
Oh, you don't?
So I went ahead and grabbed that, not according to my database. And I didn't recognize the I mean, obviously, I recognize this image because that was the DVD box, but I don't think I
didn't
have
actually
this
know that they did that. So
yeah, and I remember what some of the panels look like. I know I've looked at this before, but I apparently don't have one. Hopefully, I didn't double buy it, but if I did, I'm sure those guys would let me go in and trade it for something else. And then finally, last night I did I showed this on the community tab, but I thought I would show this to you guys in case you didn't see the community tab because it doesn't go in everybody's boxes or whatever. But I did my first painting on canvas last night. I've been painting miniatures for a long time now, 3-4 years, and I thought, I guess longer than that, I guess maybe 4 years now, yeah. And on a whim, I thought it would be fun to, I don't draw or anything, but I thought it would be fun to try a painting on canvas, and I really enjoyed doing this. I'm not super happy with the results, but I'm gonna try. I'm underselling this before I show it to you.
I think it looks good.
Jason really likes it. I'm gonna try some other things too. I bought 3 of these canvases, but I did this kind of variation of the Batman Beyond logo, and I did this as a painting on canvas. The way I did it, it looks almost like a cross between that and the Nightwing logo.
Yeah.
But,
I think it looks like the
Tell
Batman...
me what you think about this, guys. I feel like I went a little bit too far with the purple splotches, but other than that, it's all right. I'm going to try to do better next time, though.
Yeah.
And that concludes my new acquisition.
So I think it looks like the Batman Beyond logo if it was like the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo.
Yeah.
It looks like a cross between them.
Yeah, you said it does kind of have that. Okay, so yeah, that concludes new acquisitions. And
Robert Wild says, I mean, it's no Picasso. It's better.
Thanks. Well, you can tell what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not like I didn't chop up any body parts on my canvas. So, Jason, we got a few more super chats in the interim. So why don't we hit those, and then we can do our last segment.
Cool.
Thank you guys for the support tonight. Really appreciate you.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. We got a $2 super chat from Adam Arch. Where is the singing?
Okay. So I almost took a poll today about this. And since it's come up again, I might do that. And I don't think we'll ultimately win on it, Jason, or maybe it'll be like 50-50. But Jason and I have been kicking back and forth, opening and or closing the show with live music, because we've started a group together. We're playing music together. Jason's playing ukulele. I'm playing a box drum called a cajon. We're doing mostly They Might Be Giants covers, and we did a whole stream of this a couple months ago. That was a lot of fun. And we've got a couple of guys that are asking us to actually do this regularly on the live show. And I kicked it around doing that, or on the Captain Logan show. And I kicked around doing that since I've got you here and you're my regular co-host now. Yeah. It is a thing we could do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be indulgent and annoy people that don't want that.
Right.
Or annoy too. I mean, you can't make everybody happy.
Right.
But I couldn't decide if it went along with what we do here well enough.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Team BG music. Not everybody knows or cares about that.
Yeah.
And so I'm yeah, Bob Garland, you're right. It does have a little bit of that like chalk bat symbol from Rises thing going for it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it does.
I thought about that a little bit when I was doing it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about that idea. And I'm thinking about just putting a poll out in the community tab about it. Okay, moving right along. Did I gong that?
Just gong it.
Was I supposed to gong that? Okay.
Wow, you should gong it like it's like music.
Really
ding,
loud.
ding.
Adam Art says, "Be indulgent, Cap." Well, I don't think everybody's gonna.
We'll do it just for Adam Arch.
Sure.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll take, if the list is small enough, we'll take the list of people that really want this and we'll blame them every time we do it. That's
all right.
I'm kidding.
We got a $5 super chat from Chewbacca's Lover.
Thank you, Chewbacca's
Lover. He
Lover.
says Batman Caped Crusader is fine. Don't love it. Don't hate it.
Okay.
Definitely wasn't worth the wait. What were they thinking with the Penguin? Bizarre.
Oh, I think she's cool.
And yeah, we will get into that.
Yeah, we will. No, they won me over on that right away. What I like about it is she's female but feels real definitive Penguin to me. Like I agree. It's like they finally gave us everything I wanted from comic book Penguin with their Penguin, and the only difference is she's a woman now. And like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm not sure what the point of gender flipping it was, and I'm not in the camp of, oh boy, we don't have enough female characters, so we have to all band together and support that every time there's a female gender flip thing. I don't have that. I'm not on one side of that or the other. I'm not like, super progressive about that. Oh my God, we've got to have flip enough of them so that it's equal. I don't have that. But I take everything case by case, and like, it was a weird choice. I'm not I'm not sure they had to do that.
Yeah.
But just looking at what they made, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at these things.
I didn't think it was a huge deal. Like I thought it was. I thought they did a good job with her. So. Yeah.
And I love the floating iceberg lounge. I love that it's a boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the shape of the boat. Well, I don't want to give too much away for people that haven't seen it yet, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, Chewbacca's Lover, so far I'm having a different experience with it than you are. It's a lot of what I love about the original animated series packaged differently and turned into the straight-up 30s period piece that it feels like Bruce Timm always kind of wanted to make in the first place. Mm-hmm. I've got my qualms with it here and there, but and I haven't finished it yet. I'm 2 episodes away. But so far, I'm liking more than I'm not. Most assuredly.
And you're farther than I am, so I'm only 3 in.
Their Catwoman kills. She's so good.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
And I'm enjoying all of the more obscure characters that they always wanted to do in that show and never got to. Mm-hmm. And I won't give any of those away, but they're cool. There are some weird choices. Don't get me wrong. And there are some things that I'm not fully buying for the period.
I want a 30s calendar, man.
That I'm on the fence about, that we'll talk about on Sunday. Or I don't know. Am I on the fence, or do I just straight up not like it? I don't know. Some of it is like, I'm trying to decide if it's like, how heightened it is, where it's like, well, we're sort of reinventing history because it's just this heightened thing. But we'll talk about it on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm being cryptic because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. Okay, we got our last super chat for right now, and then maybe we can do our section.
We will. We absolutely will.
We have our $5 super chat from Dan Schneider.
Thanks, man.
And he says, I recommend for Jason Star Wars Legacy and John Ostrander's Clone Wars, any of his Star Wars comics, really, and the Darth Bane novels.
People love the Darth Bane stuff. I've never read it.
Yeah, I haven't read any of this.
You would love Ostrander. And Austin is obsessed with Ostrander because of Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I haven't read a ton of Ostrander, but I like what I've read.
Yeah. And Chewbacca's Lover put in another $5 super chat.
Well, thanks, man.
And he goes on about Cape Crusader. He says that his problem is that it's a 40s period piece where everyone talks super modern, and you forget it's in the 40s, and there is some change for sake of change.
I agree with all of that. Well, I agree with some of that. It's just a matter of degree, right? I guess I do agree with all of that, but not to the same degree that you seem to have a problem with it. I don't think everyone talks super modern all the time, there are lines that stand out. And I feel like the first couple episodes seem to do a better job of keeping everybody in period than some of the rest of it does. And keep in mind that they're all written that there's a lot of different writers. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen with that. So some of the writing feels more authentic to the period, and some of it doesn't. And sometimes it feels like it's more out of time than it's truly 1940s, but not with anachronistic mixes of technologies like you have with animated series. Just it looks like that period, and the soundtrack is that period, and the technology is that period. But then people kind of talk like they talk now. But it doesn't always have that.
Sometimes
so yes, it is
it's
a little
weird.
It is inconsistent about it. I do agree with that.
Okay. All right. So we have a thing that we want to do before we get going. Where
Robert argues with him and said, I'm going to read this real quick, and says, it's a fictional world. It's just using the visual aesthetic and trappings of 40s movies more than being a literal period piece. And like, I didn't think that right away. I thought it was a literal period piece initially, and it sort of is again in that, well, we're not using any modern technologies, we're not using any references to anything that's happening now, so it isn't just aesthetic. Because we're staying away from anything that couldn't have existed in that period. I mean, people don't even have televisions in their houses. Like, it is a literal 40s period piece, but it's heightened in the sense that, especially societally, the way people interact with each other and get along is different. Just by virtue of it being as diverse of a cast as it is. And that's some of the stuff that I kind of have reservations about, where I feel like it's sometimes maybe sort of having its cake and eating it too on that, where it can't be, it's not consistent and can't decide if that's just an aesthetic choice or what exactly they're doing with it. And that's the stuff, but I haven't finished the show yet, so I don't know. I shouldn't let myself talk about this yet because I haven't got all my thoughts formed.
Right.
And we're going to talk about it on Sunday. So.
And you've also watched more of it than I have.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to do a thing. This isn't going to be every time, but we have like a kind of thing, like a section where we just do a random thing every time. And this time we have Captain Logan Show type questions for each other.
Right.
So I have a question for you, and you have a question for me. And I have a question. That's not the question.
Sure.
Should you go first, or should I go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. So this is Jason with a question.
Oh, sure.
What do you think about books and stories that are in the first person?
I like them. I like books. Books
perspective.
are good.
That are in the first person perspective. Do you think a first person story is on par or even better than a story that is in the third person perspective?
So and a lot of people know this about me, my personal preference is typically third person. Mm-hmm. I think first person is harder in general, and also different writers they have different strengths with this. So some writers are just really good at first person and should kind of stay there. But I think third person in some ways is more freeing. I think it's much harder in first person to not let an author's own personal voice take over and sound too much like the author as opposed to the character. And sometimes it can be kind of limiting to have an autobiographical perspective where you have... Because part of it is you have an unreliable narrator sometimes, and the author has to know when it's unreliable and when it isn't.
Yeah.
Or that can get confusing and inconsistent. And also, a third-person limited narrator, which means you're only getting in one person's head, or one person's head at a time, still can know things that a protagonist doesn't know, and get in that character's head. And usually what you're seeing that the third person narrator is telling you about is inside that character's head, but it is a little bit more freeing that narrator is not exactly the protagonist.
Well, and I will also say that with a first-person story, you're kind of getting it from the perspective of the main character, which means that you don't have as much of, like, your own voice as to, like, knowing, you know, is this character really bad? Or, you know, is this character really friendly, right? You kind of have that, like you said, that, like, free, you know, like, thought to, like, do that sort of thinking in the third person.
Yeah.
With the first person, it's like the main character is just like, oh, you know, that guy's bad, you know, or, you know, I didn't like that, and it's like, well, maybe some readers might like that, and some readers might not like that, and so it's like, you know. So that was the only thing that I had on that, but
yeah, a lot of beginning writers like to write in the first person because they expect it to be easier. They expect it to be easier to get in a character's head if the character is telling you everything that is happening, and that's sort of true, but it's harder to find your voice that way. And if you're, I guess part of the point I was trying to make earlier is if you're in the third person, yeah, you're staying in a protagonist's head usually, like again, if it's limited, and that's typically what you want to do. There's exceptions to it. But what you don't have to worry about is the third-person narrator is using vernacular that the first person wouldn't use, and it gives you a better variety of word choice when you're trying to write description. That's
true.
That's part of what makes that easier,
yeah.
and more readable sometimes.
Yeah,
I think it's just easier to come up with a better narrative voice in third person.
Well, I don't know if I want the whole book that I'm reading to sound like a journal.
Yeah.
As well, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel too much like you're breaking a conceit, where it's like, am I really buying that this person is writing all of this down and is this eloquent about it? And then if the character isn't eloquent enough, but it's really authentic, then it's like, well, I'm buying this writing. It's just no fun to read. You know, that happens too. Yeah. That's an excellent question.
You should write a book in the second person. You should write Choose Your Own Adventure.
I should write a Choose Your Own Adventure book. Yeah, absolutely. I can't stand like regular prose written in the second person. Oh.
You look down a hallway.
I've seen that. Well, and what I've seen more of that drives me, now that I'm thinking about it, what I've seen more of that drives me crazy is it's third person limited, but it's all in present tense. That's the thing we like to do with young adult fiction now.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is cringe-inducing to me. I hate that. It drives me crazy. Robert, fourth person is the coolest. Okay, is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, and then we're done for the night, folks. I am worried that with all these segments, these shows are going to run a lot longer than the Captain Logan show used to.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get it in, we'll see. In 2 hours. We did quite a bit tonight, though.
We did, yeah.
I hope you had fun. I've had fun.
I did.
Here is my question to you. Now it's me, Captain Logan, with a question.
I guess
that's what we'll call this segment. It's with a question.
With a question.
We're not even going to explain that reference. If you've been with us long enough, you'll know what that is.
You'll know what that is. Yep.
Jason.
Yes.
My question to you, sir, is if you, and obviously, eventually, if and when you get married, the person that you get married to will have a say in this and a dog in this fight. But all things being equal, okay, I'm trying to give you a question.
Yeah.
Are you listening?
Yes.
All things being equal, you get to choose the name of your first child. A, do you think you would pick something or want to pick something that's related to pop culture like I did, like your mom and I did with a lot of our kids' names? Mm-hmm. And B, do you have any idea what your first pick would be?
Oh, man.
Have you given this any thought?
I mean, I have.
Yeah.
Um,
Is this too personal?
when I was like, I don't know, like 9 or 10, I really liked the name Jack Preston.
Preston?
Yes, Preston as the middle name.
You know, if Autumn had been a boy, we were gonna name him Jack Stryker.
Jack Stryker, yeah.
The only thing that was sad about our last kid being another girl, and I love the 50-50 split thing. I never thought I'd have daughters. Now I have 3. It's so cool. I just could not be happier about it. But the only thing that was sad is that we didn't get the best name ever. Jack Stryker.
No, I'm gonna name my first kid Q.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Is that a joke?
It was, and then you said ooh. And
yeah, but it's cool, though.
It is cool, yeah. Yeah.
I really like that, actually.
Yeah.
If you
that's a good daughter name.
Oh, I don't know about that for a girl, but
I think it is.
You'll never get your future wife, whoever she ends up being.
X23.
Yeah. You can name her Laura.
Yeah,
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Any other names leap to mind?
Adam March says Jason's firstborn will be a boy named Jason's son. To continue the trend of declaring whose son you are.
You guys won't believe me when I say this, but I didn't even realize my kid's name was literally Jay's son if you split it up until 6 months after he was born. I didn't even think of it. What I was preoccupied by before that, and I didn't even think of this until after he was born, was he's got son in his name twice. He's Jason Williamson. And I was like, why did I do that? It's not just me. Like, you know, Sarah went along with it too, but like, wow, why did we do that?
Oh, man.
Everything about it is funky, but I just love the name Jason, and I always wanted a kid named Jason.
Yeah.
Jason William, Jay's son, Williamson.
Yeah, I don't know. Heck boy.
Heck boy. You're gonna name your kid Hellboy?
Yeah, I'm gonna name him Heck boy.
Who the hell is Heck boy?
he's PG-13 Hellboy. No, he's PG Hellboy. He's Heck boy.
That's great. Austin wants you to name your kid Man Thing.
Man Thing. No.
At 14 years old, do you have a sense? This is a different question. Do you have a sense that you think you'll want kids?
This is getting a little personal, but
you don't know.
I do know. I don't.
We don't have to. Oh, you don't think you want kids? Interesting. No, that's interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get too personal.
It's fine.
Do you think you want to get married? Now we're just.
I don't know.
You don't know about that? Okay, all right. We've never talked about this.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in front of, people.
Yeah, sure. Why? That just seemed like an interesting question to ask you. But I don't know, coming up with names is fun.
Okay, well, Hot Soup hasn't commented like this whole time, and he says that Preston is an amazing name.
Yeah, so that's unusual. Well, he probably just wasn't here. He probably just now came in. He probably got off work 10 minutes ago. Good to see you, Hot Soup. Hot Soup. Everybody, thanks a lot for joining us for another rousing edition of the Captain Logan Show. And thanks for supporting Jason in his second time out as the regular co-host. I think you're doing a great job, Jason.
Thank you.
You're getting a lot of compliments earlier, and people are really enjoying your segments.
Yeah.
Some really good. You're just bringing something new to the table and giving us perspective from the next generation, sometimes on things from well before you were born.
Yeah. Well before.
We're going to get going. Lots more cool stuff coming up for you this week on Geekvolution. I laid it out all earlier. Thanks for being here. Consider popping in tomorrow night or Friday night for streams that are happening. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jason.
And we had Jason.
Yes, I said that.
Yeah, I know, but you keep jumping. That's not how I usually do this show.
Okay, well, we had our usual chat. Now it wasn't very usual until a week ago, but chat moderator.
It's fine. You can do that. I'll get used to it. All right, thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.